Hello and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our second Dev Roundtable live stream with an AMA portion dedicated to you at the end of the show. We're so happy you could be here with us, and I am here with some of our team, including Pixelbera, G Honey, and Alex. How are we all doing today?
What's up, Icy? What's up, rest of the team? Oh, Eric has joined us too. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Welcome to the very second Baritone Dev Update live stream. Icy, do we have any music in the background?
We do, actually. The music that you hear, hopefully the sound mix is reasonable. Please let me know in the comments if the volume is good. But we are hearing the sweet sounds of Eric's music, who is our audio lead. This is music that is featured in the starting area of Baritone. So this is going to be some of the first music you hear to welcome you into our wonderful world.
Awesome. Eric has done a great job making the music so far. Very pleasing soundscape. Yeah, let us know in the comments if audio mix is good, if you can hear us loud and clear. Music needs to be quieter or louder. But we're going to roll right into it. As with last week, we're going to do a little step-by-step breakdown of how our key artwork comes together. This is some key artwork that we've made of a village showing a bustling city life, a bunch of different bears doing different activities. So they usually start with a line sketch to kind of finalize the layout. We had a few different ideas that our art team had come up with, and we selected this one because we thought it did a really good job kind of showing a bunch of players doing different things in a village, which is something you'll all experience once the game is playable. So it usually starts out with a line sketch to kind of choose which direction we want to go with it, the camera angle, the layout, and then from there we do a color exploration, still completely in 2D. And then after that, they will actually bring in 3D models to do a 3D block in of the scene, just to get like perspectives all correct, all the angles, so that everything is proper geometry and perspectives and such. And then they will do a paint over of those 3D models with a bunch of extra details and turning that into the final render. So we love this piece. You guys all know Tony Berra front and center here. This is actually the piece that you see in our template background here. So very cool. Moving on. So this week we're going to talk a bit about crops, flowers, and forageables, things like plants, focusing on the flora this week. So going through some of the things that you'll collect, some of the things that you'll plant, and some of the things that you will use to make your farmstead more aesthetically pleasing. One thing that we thought about right away back in the concept stages of Baritone was what direction we want to go with things like crops and fruits and vegetables. Many games in the genre use existing crops based on reality. Things like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing will use, you know, strawberries, peas, rhubarb, onions, peaches, oranges, a lot of fruits and vegetables that we are all familiar with. And I thought this can get kind of boring. So we took it as an opportunity for us to really flex our creativity and create our own crops and fruits and vegetables and plants based on our own fantasy world. Baritone is a fun fantasy world after all, so why shouldn't the crops and fruits and vegetables also be fun? So first, let's talk about some of the forageables. Forageables are resources that you'll find when you're exploring that are just out there for you to collect. So they'll be either planted in the ground that you pluck up, either mushrooms growing on the ground that you can just grab, or things just laying, like just resources that you interact with by bending over and picking them up, and then they're added to your inventory. So these are 3 examples: the long onion, the Nico mushroom, and the Kiko nut. So the long onion is an onion that you'll pull up from the ground. The Nico mushroom is a mushroom that you'll pluck, And then the Kiko nut is kind of like an acorn. You can plant it and get a tree, but you can also find it laying on the ground next to trees. You can shake trees and they will come out. So on the left, you kind of see the first rough sketch of them, and then on the right is a bit more polished of a concept artwork. And then after the concepting stage, we move to the 3D modeling stage. So you can see the wireframe mesh on the upper left here, and then the final render on this bigger image on the right. One question we had to answer is how will we find these in the wild? So in the case of the Kiko nut, will they be laying on the ground sideways like this? Will they be planted in the ground? So we have a couple examples of them being fully planted, half planted, or just completely standing vertical, kind of sitting on the ground like that. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts if you have any opinions on how you would like to find Kiko nuts. I think if you're finding them in the wild, laying on the ground makes sense. If you're planting them as a tree, we would obviously want them to be either fully planted or half planted. Standing vertical, while they do have a nice silhouette, don't think it's very natural to find an acorn standing on its tip in the wild. So those are my thoughts. Would love to hear your guys's in the comments. And then after we do the 3D modeling, we always throw them in engine just to get the scale right next to the bear. We like a lot of our assets to be kind of big and chunky. I mean, if you look at this Kiko nut compared to the bear, it's a lot bigger than, say, an acorn that you would be able to hold between your fingers. And this is just for readability's sake. We like big chunky things, like Wide Barra.
And it is Wide Barra Wednesday, so what better day to talk about wide chunky things?
It is Wide Barra Wednesday. Thank you, Icy Barra, for reminding me. Wide 'em up, everybody. Hope you have a very wide Wednesday. Moving on to the crops. So these are resources that you will plant and harvest on your farmstead. So from seedling, and then you can see each of these has 6 distinct growth stages, from a little sprout unto a fully blooming plant. So again, these are fruits and vegetables that we came up with ourselves, somewhat based on real life plants and vegetables, but we have the brambleberry, the mochi melon, the charsimon, cobble corn, and gold grain. So this is the original sketch, and then a bit of a refined sketch. You can see the differences here, mainly between the brambleberry and the charsimon are a bit chunkier. The charsimon is really like weighing down and growing all the way to the ground now, similar to like a pumpkin, versus before they were still kind of hovering on the vine. The brambleberry looks a lot like grapes in this first concept, but then looks a bit more like a raspberry-ish type thing in the new one. So a lot of these are obviously inspired by real world plants. We have the cobble corn here, which is kind of like corn. Gold grain, also kind of like wheat or corn as well. But just putting our own spin on existing plants and vegetables is fun. Looking at our 3D modeling process, again, we have our wireframe on the top, and then the final asset on the bottom here. Love how these turned out. Here's our mochi melon. The charsimon, which is kind of like a tomato. The cobble corn. And the gold grain. So we will have a lot more of these, but these are the first 5 examples of plantable crops that we will have in our early playable demos for you guys. Any questions in the chat we will get to at the end. We'd like to roll through a presentation first, and then just save your questions. We'll address them all at the end of the AMA portion. So here's us testing all of those in Engine. blocked out a few secret ones here, which will be revealed later. Next, we'll move on to our flowers. So flowers are decorative resources that you will plant to increase the vibes on your farmstead. You'll maximize the aesthetic. We all love flowers. And they also keep your bees happy. Keeping bees is going to be an important part of the game. And having flowers that attract bees will increase the number of bees on your farm. So here's 3 that we come up with. The soul flower is obviously based on the sunflower. But it looks a bit different. And then we have on the other end the Luna flower. So the Luna flower only blooms at nighttime, whereas the soul flower blooms in the daytime. And then we have our tulip, which is based on the tulip, but tulip is very fun to say. Looking at our modeling process, we have our wireframes on the left and then the finished asset on the right. The soul flower, the Luna flower, and the tulip. Icy, what's your favorite flower? I think I know, but I just want to curious.
My favorite flower is the Luna flower because those are totally my colors, but I will admit that saying tulip is the most fun. I think I'll go through the rest of my day randomly saying tulip.
The Luna flower is very icy coated.
I'm gonna put so many of those on my farm.
Yeah, what's your favorite flower?
Chat, put your favorite, put the flower you're gonna plant the most on your farm. The soul flower, the Luna flower, or the tulip.
Again, here's testing an engine. So you can also see in these in-engine testing shots, you can see our seed bags. I'll comment on those in a little bit because I think the seed bags are kind of exciting. Again, one is kind of blocked out here. That will be revealed later. And then here's everything we talked about today. Well, this is just the crops and the flowers all in engine testing together. Again, we do this for scale testing to make sure that things are as chunky as we want next to the bear. Exaggerated shapes and a bit exaggerated sizes are kind of important for readability. You want to make sure that you know, if a brambleberry is ready to be picked, that you can see a big, nice, juicy brambleberry from a distance. When things are fully grown and ready to be picked, they'll have a little sparkle effect on them as well to give you another indicator that you can pick them. And then aside from the 3D models, we also have to have inventory icons for everything. Our UI is 2D illustrations similar to like our key artwork stuff, so very nice stylized icons for everything. And this is what they look like. So we got our forageables up here, the long onion, the Nico mushroom, and the Kiko nut. Our crops, the brambleberry, the charsimon, cobblecorn, gold green, and the mochi melon. And then our flowers, of course, the soul flower, the Luna flower, and the tulip. And then we have a few extra mushroom concepts that we have not made 3D models for yet, but here's some that you can look forward to, a little sneak peek. It's kind of a bear-themed mushroom, and then like a honeycomb bee-themed mushroom. So seed bags, we talked about those, saw them briefly in our in-engine testing. They've gone through a bit of an evolution in their design. So at first we had unique designs for every single seed bag. And while this is exciting, from a gameplay perspective, you kind of want to, at a glance, look in your inventory and know what something is. So like consistent design language is pretty important. So rather than having like a different design seed bag, you want to kind of know that like what you're looking at is a seed bag. So we changed them all to have them matching. And then changed the color of the little tape tab to match whatever the icon is of the crop or the flower that you're planting. So the bottom is our final designs, where the tape is a color that matches the thing. So like a red one for the brambleberry, a purple one for the charsimon, and so on. That way, you can look in your inventory, you see this shape, you know it's a seed bag, versus if they all had unique designs, it can be a bit more confusing, if that makes sense. So keeping it brief this week, that's all we got for you. A lot of exciting things happening behind the scenes. If you guys got any questions, please feel free to throw them out.
Okay.
And we will answer them now.
Yeah, we are entering into our AMA portion of the live stream. I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing some more of the sneak peek that we had to show you. I know I am so excited every week during our team meetings when we have these updates. I'm so excited to eventually get to play and enjoy farming all of these crops with you. So that being said, how the AMA portion is going to work is I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat. I will copy down questions and the users that ask them. If your Twitch username does not match your Discord username, just let me know in our Discord what your Twitch username is so that you can appropriately get rolled up with the tuned in role. That being said, the first question that I see comes from our very own Rafero, and he is asking, will the seed bags have different sizes or they will just get stacked? I think what you mean to ask is, are the sizing going to be consistent in inventory as well as in game? Which I believe the answer would be yes, Pixel, correct?
For the seed bag specifically, yeah, all those seed bag icons will be the same size, yeah. And that has to do with animation as well. When we're spreading seeds in game, the bear holds the bag and reaches into it and then spreads the seed. So, yeah, all those will be scaled the same.
Perfect. And the follow-up question I have here that I think is a little comical, why is the mushroom so big?
Oh, you haven't even seen the biggest mushrooms. So these are forageable mushrooms that you can collect and add to your inventory, but we also have gameplay focused mushrooms that you can bounce on, which is very fun. You jump on it and it will shoot you high up in the air or to a specific location.
Gelato.
For mobility and platforming.
Gelato in the chat suggests actually making the mushrooms even bigger. And then, yes, Rafero, you are so correct. It's not big, they're wide. Fantastic consistency in the verbiage. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of very fun things to do with these crops, particularly the mushrooms. Another question that I see here in the chat is, will we have drug and herb plants too?
We're rated E for everybody.
This is a family-friendly game. Come on, guys. No barrow weed. We are family-friendly. Oh, this is a great question. Super Barra, I'm so sorry if I didn't say that correctly, asks, are there any enemies in the forest?
We do have combat. In our last update, we showed you guys the sword tool. We have some very cool sword animations. We also have kind of jumping on enemies, similar to something like Mario. So some enemies you hit with the sword, some you bonk on top of the head by jumping on them. Some enemies require you to do both. Maybe jump on their head to flip them over, and then they're then vulnerable to the sword. I think in the future, we certainly want to look into different combat classes. So maybe equipping dual knives or using magic with the staff and things like that. But for now, we are focused on getting the sword gameplay feeling good. Making combat feel good is no small task. Alex, maybe you can speak to some of the considerations since you've worked on other combat games in the past as well.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go over what I was saying again. So with combat, we're trying to just take into account all the little intricacies of that these games have, like like Zelda, Dark Souls, when you're swinging your sword, they do move you forward to try to compensate for the player just being a little bit off, or just like turning you to face the enemies. So these are all things that we're taking into consideration, and just trying to make sure that the combat feels as smooth as it can for everyone. And we're trying out a lot of different things. Yeah, if any more questions on that, you can let me know.
Actually, a fantastic follow-up that I think has sort of been addressed already, but I think could benefit from just having the clarification. Can Bera get hurt since there is combat?
Ooh, can Bera get hurt? Of course. And Bera might be able to faint.
Fainting Bera, huge if true.
Yeah, it might not be deaf, but
This is a family game, after all.
yeah, we have to keep it cozy.
Yeah. Oh, this is an interesting one that I'm not actually sure the answer to myself. Will we see wounds on Bera?
I think things like gore might push us out of the E for everybody cozy spectrum, but I kind of like how in games like Animal Crossing, if you get stung by a bee, you kind of have the swollen eyeball. So potentially something like that. Certainly not like lesions or, blood, anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, something like a cute bandage could be fun.
Bandaged Beras would be very, very cute. I agree. And taking it in a completely different direction, we have another Bera in the chat asking, does the game have a marriage system, or is that something that the team has considered?
Considered it, would love to do it. Haven't dove that deep into it yet. We're really still focused on like core functionality and making sure that the core systems of like resource collecting, farming, customization, crafting are fun and polished before we move on to things like marriage. But I would love to see bears proposing to each other and making their relationships official via baritone. Could be very cute.
Yeah, you've heard of like rave marriages. Now get ready for Bera marriages. Barrages? We'll workshop it. This is a great question that I already know the answer to, but I think it'd be nice to have like answer to the community. Will there be cute Bera furniture?
Yeah, this is a great question, especially given what we've kind of talked about today. Crafting going to be a big part of the game. So using things like wood and stone, obviously, to make some furniture pieces will be huge. But I like fruit-themed furniture. I like vegetable-themed furniture. If you want like a couch in the shape of a big brambleberry, or a table in the shape of a mochi melon, or things like that, using or like a mushroom table would be really cute too. So using some of these resources that you collect and farm resources as well, like crops in furniture recipes, I think will be really fun. So having like a whole brambleberry set of furniture if you want, or a whole mushroom set of furniture for the cottage core girlies would be great.
Yeah, one thing that I'm personally really excited to see is the diversity in how people decorate their houses. Being a huge Animal Crossing stan myself, that's such a core part of their community is all of the different styles, like the cottage core, the city core, etc. So I'm really, really excited to see everyone's creativity and personality shine through in the type of furniture that they choose and how they choose to set everything up. So.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, just like all of these resources, trying to find as much use for them as possible. So we touched on like Bera getting hurt and enemies in a previous question. So being able to craft like medicine or HP, replenishing items, things that give you attack and defense buffs, using all these different resources. So kind of like assigning some utility to a lot of these plants and mushrooms and things like that, as well as using them in furniture recipes if you want to. So these things are important. We want to give you some reason to collect all these things, whether that be to increase the aesthetics on your farm and customization, or for gameplay purposes, dealing with combat as well.
I think that actually is the great segue into this next question. Will bears need to sleep/rest? Will there be an energy bar of some kind?
It's something we've talked about a lot internally. It kind of comes down to it's an important part of the game, I think. I'm kind of the opinion that I don't necessarily like having to rest to restart the day, or having like an energy meter that you have to refill, just because I don't like my gameplay being interrupted for that reason. I think on the other hand, it does serve a lot of gameplay purpose if you have an energy bar that you need to like eat and refill if you want to keep playing or something. Yeah, it's something we've talked about a lot. We haven't implemented any sort of energy bar yet. At the moment, you can kind of do as many tasks as you want to without needing to sleep. And we allow the player to like play through the nighttime as well. Not necessarily like how something like Stardew Valley does it, where once 1 a.m. hits, you have to go back to bed to like advance it to the next day. We have like a constant time that is ticking. So if you want to farm all night, which makes sense because we have the Luna flower, which only blooms at night. So, you know, we want to just give people the freedom to play whenever they want and not have them be super limited or think that they have to like rush back to replenish anything. Gamer's gonna game.
And following up from that, will there be seasons?
Yeah, so the way we're approaching it, so in a game like Stardew Valley, you only have like the one city that you run around on. And same with like Animal Crossing, you have your one island. So they handle seasons, and it's a pretty low, you know, it's a small area that they have to worry about. Whereas in Baritone, we have a lot of different biomes and islands that we're creating for the player to explore around on, as well as a farmstead that they can customize and make their own. So the way we're approaching seasons is that on your farmstead, seasons will pass. So there's kind of like a 4-season. We're actually doing sub-seasons as well, like early fall, early spring, late spring, that have slightly different things available in the shops, slightly different resource spawn rates and things becoming available, whether it's late, mid, or early season. But that all happens on your farmstead. When you're exploring these different biomes, if it's like an icy biome, it doesn't really make sense for that biome to then also be able to cycle through all 4 seasons, because it's the ice biome, so it should be icy. But we are still thinking about, for things like in like real world holidays and special events, like Christmas time is coming up. So thinking about decorating all of the like biomes and villages in the game for special events like that, having some Christmas lights up around Christmas time is something we're looking into. So there will be opportunities to have fun, unique time-based decorations based on holidays and events that we throw. But I don't think the passing of the seasons makes sense for the explorable areas. But it does a lot for your farmstead.
Yeah, definitely. And I do second that. I hope that there's a cherry blossom season too. Oh, imagine how cute that would be. So yeah, I'm really excited that there is going to be so much diversity in at least how our farms look. And of course, like you mentioned, there are going to be a lot of different biomes to explore. So if you like a particular type of place, then you'll certainly have opportunity to spend time there.
I see somebody else asking about weather. So I will say, even though there might not be distinct seasons in the explorable biomes, there will be distinct weather. and there's a lot of resources that are connected to different weather conditions. So certain fish will spawn during the rain that won't spawn when it's sunny. Things like time of day make a big difference. So maybe there's a fish that's only active for 1 hour during the sundown, only when it's foggy out, or things like that. So it's a really fun way for us to control rarity of certain resources and spawn rates and things like that.
And another question I'm seeing in the chat, moving in a bit of a different direction, but something I'm personally really excited about. Will beras be able to wear clothes?
Good question. Absolutely. Customization is such a huge thing. So whether that be the farmstead, your house, putting different like siding or roof or different door design on your house is super important. But the easiest way to express yourself in baritone is through our character creator, meaning you have some different eye types that you can choose between, different fur colors that you can choose between, and then being able to collect different pieces of clothing from completing quests or crafting clothing from collected resources. You could wear a brambleberry outfit and dress yourself up as a Luna flower or what have you. Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely expect to catch me in the Luna flower drip. And so this is an interesting one. Will there have age feature for our character, like a baby or adult phase for the beras?
That's interesting. I think I don't know if we'll necessarily have an age slider on the character creator, but I think something like a height slider, a wideness factor, and then some of the eye shapes might look a bit more aged. So you could make yourself appear younger or older based on a few things. If you want to be like a gray fur bera and one of the eye shapes has the kind of like eye bags or wrinkles under the eyes that make you feel old and jaded. You want to be a crockety old bear, you can do it that way, but I don't think we're necessarily planning on like an aging feature where your bear gets older the more you play or anything like that. That's ambitious.
And
I do want to touch back on clothing. So currently we have like hats and glasses and things like facial accessories. Gonna do pants and shoes and shirts, and then wrist accessories too if you want to bling out your wrist with some ice. Necklaces, things like that.
can't wait to be showing off my bling. Gonna get iced out. Icy Bera. Iced out Bera. Coming soon.
Real.
This is a really cute question. I'm not sure if we've considered yet. Can Beras have pets?
Yeah. So I like minions. If anyone's like a Final Fantasy XIV player, you have kind of two things where certain mounts will be animals, so you can ride around on a horse or a dragon or whatever. And then you can also have minions, which are just like little guys that follow you around.
They're just little guys.
Certainly doing both. Certainly doing both. I love pets, but then apart from just like a little guy that follows you around, you know, if you want to raise chickens on your farm, other livestock, we're looking into that. I think another fun thing that we're thinking about too is just kind of like the crops, where we come up with our own fantasy versions of crops. We're trying to stray away from just the traditional like cows for milk and sheep for wool. So one of the ideas we had as an example is like instead of sheep for wool, we have like big old fuzzy caterpillars that you have to shave. So hands up in chat if you're excited to shave your fuzzy caterpillar.
Who up shaving they caterpillar? If anyone has further questions, let me know now in the chat, or forever hold your peace until our next live stream. Actually, great idea. Gelato said, what if your caterpillar becomes a butterfly and it makes butter? Ah, that's an interesting idea.
Butterfly. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, any sort of like really cute ideas like that, I think the team is, really brainstorming to think up. Because, yeah, like Pixel said, we want this to have a feeling of freshness, not just be the same thing that you see in a lot of the other games. We gotta, make ourselves even more silly and fun. So if you have silly ideas, please always feel encouraged to let us know in our Discord. I live in the Baritone Discord, so I will most certainly see these ideas, and I'm always happy to forward those along to the team so that we can consider them as we develop this wonderful world for all of you.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate all your questions. I'm sure the question everyone wants to know the most is like, when can we play the game? And all I can really say is we're working as hard as we can. We have a very small team over here that is working as hard as possible. Everyone's at full capacity here, full steam ahead. I don't think we'll expect anything playable before the end of the year. But early next year, we'll have something really great for our sailcloth holders, first and foremost, doing a small play test to make sure that our online systems can handle a couple hundred players at a time. Since there's only a couple hundred sailcloth holders, it'll be a really good way for us to stress test our back end. Who up stress testing their back end? And yeah, we're super excited. Trust us, we know you guys are anxious to play, so we're doing all we can to make it happen as quick as possible. But as I've said many times, you only really get one chance at a first impression, and we want to exceed expectations, and we want it to be fun and something that you play and want more of,
I personally can't wait to spend every waking moment of my life playing Baritone, but I will say I love the mindset that the team has, because as a lifelong gamer myself, that's exactly the mindset that you want out of a development team. So really happy that you guys have joined us for our second live stream. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful questions. We will be uploading this live stream to our YouTube afterward. So you always have the option to watch back and share with all of your friends and family. Let them know that they should be so excited to play Baritone with you. That being said, again, if your Twitch username does not match your Discord username, just let me know in our Discord what your Twitch username is. I'm going to get everyone who asked questions tuned in, rolled up, if you will. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, it is Wide Barrow Wednesday, so I hope that you go through the rest of your day making sure to maximize your wideness. Other than that, have a fantastic rest of your Wide Barrow Wednesday, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.